So we had Bloody Monday the other day, as you guys remember well. This is, of course, when Don Lemon was fired from CNN. Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News. We even got word that I think it was a day or two later, Nate Silver has now been kicked out of 538. And that's astonishing because that's his baby. And for all of, my ideological issues with Nate Silver, he was the best at that particular thing that he did. Of, the numbers game and predictions. And even when he messed up, his predictions were better than other people who were data people. So, it's kind of crazy that happened. But now I want to talk about the real reason Don Lemon was fired. So we speculated on it previously, but now we have some more information here to share with you guys. According to a number of sources, this video, which you're about to see, was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back to CNN management, where they were like, you know what? Okay, we've had enough with this guy. He's done so. This is according to multiple sources. So I'll play it for you. I'll react to it, but then also I'll give you the surrounding circumstance, which helps further explain why he's now gone.
With due respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to black Americans, to say that black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
black
part
people,
of what secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on 1 second. So to say that black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They
That's
were
a
not
fact.
secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting.
Okay, so this should be obvious to everybody, but this is totally ahistorical. The idea that, it was the Second Amendment that helped secure black people's freedoms. What? What are you talking about? By the way, one of the reasons for the Second Amendment is for slave patrols in Virginia, the militias, to be able to go after escaped slaves. So one of the reasons for the Second Amendment is literally the polar opposite of what Vivek Ramaswamy is saying right here. He's just trying to tie in a standard right-wing issue to a view of American history. That's all he's trying to do here. It's some hack right-wing narrativizing. That's all it is.
Don, just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They
That's
were
a
not
fact.
secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War. And
I'm not a fan of Don Lemon. In fact, I hate Don Lemon, but he's inarguably correct here.
things turned around. That the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to happen.
And you know how they got it?
War
They got their Second Amendment rights, and they actually got the NRA played a big role in that. But today, down the
NRA did not play a big role.
Absolutely, they trained black Americans how to use firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role.
This is just historical fact.
It's not historical fact.
The part that I
just
find
because you say it's historical fact.
The part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where
look, Don Lemon was killing Vivek Ramaswamy in this debate until this very moment, where he's basically like, I'm black, so my opinion on black issues is over yours by definition. Well, everybody knows that's not true, because, you know, if there's a white leftist talking to Candace Owens, who's probably going to be more correct on race issues? Gee, I wonder. So perhaps it's not a trump card, no pun intended, to be like, well, I'm black. He was right on the NRA point. The NRA point, the idea of what the NRA were crusading for, their purpose was for black liberation. Get out of here. But here he just, veers the car into a ditch.
The freedoms that black and white, that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
insulting that
but
you're
me regarding
here,
you as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I
sitting
think we
here,
should see.
whatever ethnicity you are.
Okay. Keep your eye on this CNN host here. She's literally going to whip out her phone and start scrolling. Why? Because this is apparently a recurring thing on this morning show, which, by the way, was Chris Licht's big idea. The new head of CNN, I'm going to do this morning show, and this morning show is going to get great ratings. It's going to be amazing. It gets worse ratings than the previous morning show. And so here's the reaction to this CNN host. The reason why she's reacting like this is because she's had it up to here with Don Lemon. He always cuts off the other hosts. He always filibusters and takes up all the time. And even though you could say this is in service of a debate where he's mostly correct, this is something CNN management has their eye on. He doesn't work well with the other hosts, and there are consequences for that.
Regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
but
me regarding you as a fellow citizen.
That's what I think we should say. Whatever ethnicity you are explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about what it's like to be black
whatever
in America.
ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the ideas.
If you're going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay? We appreciate you coming on.
With due respect, Don, I look forward to continuing that conversation.
We'll
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Pop.
We'll talk about China.
Yes, let's talk about China.
Next time you come back.
Oh, thank you. Much to say on declaring independence from China.
Okay,
something you
can
can
we
add
move on now, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you could see that was awkward. You can see this CNN host hates Don Lemon. The other CNN host, I believe her name is Caitlin Collins, hates Don Lemon. There's been a number of awkward moments. Remember that gaffe where it wasn't really a gaffe. He was serious, and he thought he made a good point when they were talking about Nikki Haley, and he was like, she's past her prime, bro. And the women were like, past her... Are you talking about, like, sexual prime or reproductive? Like, what are you talking about? And he was like, just Google it. Just Google when a woman's prime is. And it's like, oh, you idiot. That's has nothing to do with, like, a business career prime or a political prime. Like, this, to point that out, it's just such a dumb point. Everybody was like, oh my God, you're stupid. And this is on top of 1,000 things that Don Lemon has said that are just incredibly idiotic. Like, maybe that Malaysian plane that went missing went to a black hole. Remember that one? That was classic. We covered a segment recently. He got super in his feels because Stephen Colbert made fun of the fact that Don Lemon wore a hoodie and then a suit jacket over the top of the hoodie. And Stephen Colbert made fun of it. Because of course, that's fair game. It's kind of a silly look, whether you like it or not, right? It's certainly different, so you got to expect people to be like, I don't know about that, bro. And Don Lemon did this whole grandstanding thing where he was like, look, I like Steven, but what I'll say is this. They criticized the first black president for his beige suit, and they're criticizing me for this. I just think that's kind of curious, bro. Maybe black men are, like, held to a higher standard, bro. So he played the race card because he wore a goofy-ass outfit. That was absurd. Remember he brought on some writer who was arguing that, like, Chris Rock talking about the slap incident in his stand-up was violence against Jada Pinkett Smith. I remember we covered that, and Don Lemon sitting there like, interesting. Just, okay, look, he's not good at his job, and he gets horrible ratings. So, right now, the word that's out there is this is the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the moment where the CNN management was like, okay, we're done with this guy. But the fact of the matter is this, guys. If you look in the past couple months, up to the moment where Don Lemon got fired, internally, CNN started leaking hit pieces on Don Lemon. They started doing it over and over. So that was a sign the writing was on the wall. They were already done with him. And effectively what he is a scapegoat for the entire network's problems. Namely, Chris Licht took over. He thought, we're going to be more corporate and centrist and more vanilla, and we're going to be, more boring, and that's going to get us more views. And they've actually gotten fewer views. And so they got to pin it on somebody. And to them, they're like, okay, well, Don Lemon, he's one of the biggest names of the network, and he gets terrible views. So let's just pin it all on him. And that's why they did the leak job over and over and over. And perhaps this was the straw that broke the camel's back. But ultimately, the writing was on the wall, and he's just way overpaid. Nobody behind the scenes likes him, and he gets bad numbers. And so, now, look, I will say this. Not a fan of Don Lemon. He probably should have been gone a hell of a long time ago. But it's not like this is a silver bullet. It's not like this is a panacea. Now CNN is going to start getting phenomenal numbers. It's just not true. I like the move that they're doing with bringing in Charles Barkley, because Charles Barkley is actually authentic and interesting, even when I disagree with him. But the other candidates, the other hosts are still just as vanilla, just as bland, just as boring, and can't generate the same eyeballs. Look, I'll say this. It's not a coincidence that Fox News is the most ideological of all the cable news outlets and also gets the most views. There's also a demographic argument there that only older people watch cable news, and so they're going to have more eyeballs just because that demographic likes more conservative politics. So there is an argument there, but at the same time, it's not a coincidence that the most ideological network gets the best views because they have a clear opinion, you know where they're coming from, and they hammer it home relentlessly, and they also gin up outrage. This is not something CNN has replicated. This is not something MSNBC has successfully replicated, even though they've tried to be like the Democratic network as opposed to Fox News, the Republican network. But anyway, that's your breakdown there. Don Lemon is out. There's a number of reasons why, but they say this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.